We learn through events in our life and putting ourselves out there, and it's people, resources, events, those inflection points that can change your life if you will allow those doors to open and not try to slam them shut. People might say, I quote, work hard. To me, it's like, I'm having fun. I don't like this word retirement. There's got to be something more. And I'm telling folks there is, but you've got to be willing to change your environment. If you can take what you love and do it where you want to do it, when you want to do it, with whom you want to do it, how you want to do it, that to me is ultimate freedom.
Hi, it's David here. On this week's podcast, I'm going to share with you an interview that a good friend of mine, Mr. Jim Palmer, did with me regarding my book, What's Your Next? Jim is a longtime friend, colleague, mentor, someone who I truly respect and who has his own story about twists and turns and moving his once very constrained life to a purposeful life today where he lives his freedom lifestyle. We talked a lot about legacy, how to create legacy today, not waiting till someday down the road. Living your life by intention and creating a real freedom lifestyle, a business that serves your purpose, your life, but also creates the impact that you want to have. I hope you'll enjoy this episode.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Captain Jim Palmer, the Dream Business Coach, and I'm the creator of the Dream Business Academy and founder of the Dream Business Mastermind and Coaching Program. That's a mouthful. Welcome to another special Facebook Live edition of Dream Business Radio. This is episode 443. So that means, yes, we're closing in on 9 years, I guess, bringing you great content, great guests, and great information to help you build your dream business so you too can live your dream lifestyle. And as a business owner, and especially as a marketer, there's something to be said for consistency and persistency, I guess, even if you don't do it perfectly. I get the great pleasure every week of interviewing some highly successful entrepreneurs, and today is no different. My special guest today is Dr. David Phelps, but I know I'm good enough just to call him David, so I'll ask his permission. I guess I do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Over the last years, David has built an incredible platform and community speaking to dentists and other professionals about an alternative approach to work and wealth creation. With his latest book, which, David, literally 10 minutes ago, I got an email that it finally arrived in Florida, so I have to have it shipped up to where we are. So I can't hold it up, but you could hold it up.
Okay, well, I'll do it for you. There you go.
What's my next? David details his approach to work and wealth creation as one that provides more freedom, demands less sacrifice, and helps us all prioritize our relationships, our purpose, and most importantly, especially for people my age, our legacy, I think. So as a young dentist and practice owner, David used his income to invest in real estate. And by the time he was 45, couple of years ago, he had enough capital to invest and step away from his practice full time. Today, he uses that capital to generate passive income, allowing him to focus on coaching families and speaking to audience as he lives out his purpose, which is to help as many people as possible be free for life, no longer trading dollars for hours, hours for dollars, sitting behind that dental chair, etc. Using his approach, professionals who desire to create wealth and an alternative income path can take the first steps to achieving high levels of freedom. Again, David, I'm going to call you David on this interview. Drop all the formalities. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Jim. So good to see you. Always good to be with you.
Yes, sir. Man, we've been together a long time. I think we first connected at a GKIC super conference. I want to say 2008, could be 2000. Is your memory any better than mine?
13 years ago. Wow. Yeah.
I know. Wow. So, what's your next? Is that your second or third, or are you already up to 4 or 5 books? I've lost count. How many books have you written?
Yeah, I think that's number 4.
Good for you. And it's called What's Your Next, which is, I think it's a great title because, you know, the old expression when you're a musician, you're only as good as your last hit record or your last hit song. And really, I think if you have no plan and you just keep going forward, you're going to get somewhere where maybe you don't want to be. So you always have to be thinking about your what's next. One of the things I did read, because you interviewed me last week for your big book launch, which was very well done. And my hat's off to the whole team you had putting that together. I mean, God, the orchestration. How many people did you interview? Like 20 or something, I think, right?
Yeah, probably pretty close to that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. But I did get a chance to speed read the PDF copy of the book so I could sound semi-intelligent. And in your book, What's Your Next? You write about inflection points. And I think you describe those as leverage points in time. So David, what is an inflection point? And then if you would, after you kind of say what it is, share a little bit about the biggest or largest inflection point in your life.
Sure, Jim. Yeah, there's inflection points can come in different forms, Jim. It could come in an event in somebody's life. It could come an event that's around a person of influence, and it could come from a resource or optimization of a resource that one already has. So some examples could be, and you're really great at this, Jim, is helping people with a current business and how they can take that business and optimize it by the magic ninja stuff that you do. So that could be an inflection point. Meeting up with you, Jim, truly in my life was an inflection point. The collaboration. But there's also sometimes negative events. And you think, well, how could a negative event be an inflection point, a leverage point, a point that could take you somewhere? It seems like that would just take you down, because that's how we think of negative things. And the one for me was that. It was my daughter, my only child, Jenna, who went through a lot of health issues, leukemia and epilepsy, and then at age 12 had to go through a liver transplant. And that was the negative turning point in my life that changed my whole thinking about what am I doing here, as a dentist, is working hard, trying to create security for my family. All the things are important, Jim, right? But am I doing it the right way? Am I doing it the way that's most important to me? Or am I just following the path of everybody else that says, you're a dentist, you're a business owner, you're this, that, or the other, and this is how you behave? And I just decided, no, there's got to be a different way to do it. And so that time, negative event was an inflection point for me in a huge way. That's one of the big. I've had others, but that was probably the biggest one.
Yeah, and I think if I'm not mistaken, you were somewhere. You would, when that happened, and you needed to step away to be with your daughter. You had already had your practice at a place where you could step away. Where a lot of dentists today, man, if they're not behind the chair, they're not generating income, right?
Well, yeah, and that again happened a little bit by accident. I gotta say, here we go again. Another inflection point was I made the decision to sell the practice. So you could say, yeah, I had it ready and I had the real estate on the side, so I could financially make that move or cover the gap, which is important. But I screwed up the first sale of the practice. I had to take it back. It was I made a mess out of it, and so I had to take it back. But in doing so, I actually would force me to step back in, not as the producer, not as the doer of the thing, but I made a decision. I'm going to bring this practice back, but I'm not going to be the dentist. And so I learned a lot of things that you and I both know is you can elevate yourself from your current technical expertise. Not that that's bad, but can you elevate yourself to a position that really serves your lifestyle better than the way you've been doing it? So I learned that, and it's a big part of my belief system today, because I've been there. And when people say, no, I can't do this, I can't get out of that, I have to do it this way, I'm thinking, you don't, but you just have to believe that there's a different way to do it.
So it's interesting. I either forgot that or didn't know it. But when that happened in that time frame, David, was that when you started focusing on the marketing? Is that when you up-leveled your marketing game, when you had to take the practice back but had somebody else do the behind the chair stuff?
Well, I had started before that. Fortunately, I had actually become involved in the GKC. Dan Kennedy, through his books. Not really involved in the community per se, but I had been reading the books, studying a lot of the materials that I could glean, by buying products or in the community. And so I had already become a pretty ardent student, not accomplished by any means, but ardent student of direct response marketing and what that could mean. And so I had a little bit of a runway to understand that there were ways to do this. And so it was kind of an opportunity to take all these things I've been learning and actually put them to the test. Can I take all this new knowledge and my feeling of doing it differently? Could I actually make this happen? And so it was a good test, and it worked. I mean, it wasn't easy, Jim, but it worked, and that's what gave me the more of the enthusiasm to take part of that message to other people, because gosh, I both know we have the blessing to work with a lot of great people that have a lot of gifts and talents, but just stuck in the weeds like I was for so long, thinking this is the only way you can do it. And you have the same story, right? I mean, we learn through events in our life, but putting ourselves out there, and it's people, resources, events, those inflection points that can change your life if you will allow those doors to open and not try to slam them shut.
That's interesting about the negative inflection points, because that was my case also when I lost my job. And I thought for sure, I even told Stephanie, I'll be fielding multiple lucrative offers inside of days or weeks. And that turned into like almost 1.5 years of unemployment. And with 12 months in, I had the cancer. I mean, my life just got boof. I had to kind of rebuild. So it is true. Sometimes you go through negative stuff and it can turn into a positive. The other thing about, what you just said is like, I can clearly remember back at some of those big conferences that we would go to, and they'd put up an offer. Oh, get this product or this course. And man, I'd see you run into the back room with your application in hand, but man, we both invested and I think that's healthy. I want to ask you a few more questions about the book. I'd love to circle it back into something we both have in common, which is being a coach and running a mastermind. In your book, you write about the 5 freedom assets, as you call them: yourself, your business, your relationships, your capital, and your legacy. Do you have one or two favorites, or are they all kind of 20% important in the whole scheme of things?
They're all pretty important. I think I tell people that you need to have all 5 of them in mind. You may be focusing wherever you are in your current pathway to freedom, or your next on a couple more so than the others, but it's not the kind of thing where it's a stacked sequential move. It's like you need to be working on them all the time. I think really number one is yourself, because you and I are both huge believers. You just talked about it. When I was a few years younger, back in the 70s, when I was still in school and thinking about my next, which is going to be a dentist. Well, I was curious, always curious, and that's why I was reading books. There was no internet, no online forums like we have today. But I was reading books about, how I could be a better steward of money someday I might earn, because in school I had debt. I didn't have money. I was waiting tables, but I was reading books. And one of the books I read books about, well, how do you invest money? How do you become a good investor? I was just curious. How do you do this? Right. And and so I read books about, the stock market, Wall Street, and mutual funds and all that. And I read some books about real estate. In fact, one of the books I just keep it here because I reference it, but this is a book written in 1959, Jim. William Nicholson,
Wow.
How I turned $1,000 into, he changed it to $3 million in real estate. Well, books like this about real estate just caught my fancy. So my point is, investing in yourself, whether it's through books today, through podcasts, through YouTube, information is available everywhere. But the key today, Jim, and both know this, it's not that there's a lack of information, it's the curation of that information, and who can be the one to help you, guide you through the maze and say, well, this is information that's going to work for you. See, that's why you need a coach and a mentor. You need somebody who's been there, done it, and can say, let's zero it down. Let's get some clarity on this. So investing in yourself is a big one. And then I'll just skip all the way to number 5, which wasn't always a big piece for me, but legacy. I think when you're on the hamster wheel, like we are so long in life, and we're trying to keep things afloat, and like you said, manage crises in our family, whether it's health issues or job issues or business goes bust or COVID. I mean, yeah, you've got to dig in. So legacy is probably not, first and foremost on our mind during times like that. But once you can elevate yourself and create a little bit more margin and realize that the blessings we have allow us to go back and help other people, then you start thinking more about legacy and who are we imparting our wisdom and experience in today. Who it doesn't have to be people that you have as clients. It can be anybody. Just going into a Starbucks or into a grocery checkout. What can you seed into somebody out there today that maybe needs an uplift? Just a quick sentence, a direct, acknowledgement. I'm talking about the little things that on a compound basis add up. And then of course you can take legacy and go. But I think I just picked those 2 extremes because one's always been important. Legacy more so in my latter part of my life.
Yeah. I came to faith pretty late in life, I think, but maybe never too late. But I remember somebody told me that how you live your life, the example of how you live your life, may be the only Bible somebody ever reads. So it is, when you're blessed like you and I have been with a platform where people do look at what we say and they watch what we do and things like that, I think there's a huge responsibility that goes with that, first of all. And you mentioned yourself. David, you probably see this a lot too. Information is power and things like that. I think, and I've seen other people say information is not power unless it's applied. Exactly. People who go to conferences or buy all these things, but never take the shrink wrap off, never open the book. And if they do open the book, they don't put it into practice in their business. It really is. I mean, it's paramount, not just to have the information, but to actually put it to work. The second asset you said is your business. And I thought that was interesting. Obviously, somebody may go, duh, a business is an asset. One of the things I think I might have mentioned when you interviewed me, David, was that I don't think enough entrepreneurs are thinking of their business as an asset for act 2, stage 2, or whatever it is of your next life. How do you position your business? For you, you're helping people position their business right now to live a better life. But I'm thinking down the road, I've always thought one tenet of a dream business is so that your business becomes an asset. So you can have a worry-free retirement and not be wearing an orange apron when you're 85 years old, greeting at Home Depot or something. Is that an area that you focus on with Freedom Founders? Is what's next for your business?
Yeah, I mean, your business can be an asset, way before you're thinking about selling it or transitioning out. I think a business is not so much of an asset like most small businesses. And the way I was as a dentist for most of my career was that business was really a job for me. Now it's a good job and I could make relatively high trade for the dollars, but as long as that business is dependent upon me, like for most small business owners, then the asset value is really, it's me. And if someone's going to buy my business, then they're basically just taking over the job that I just gave up, right? To make that business really an asset well before you're going to sell it, you've got to create some systems and protocols. You have to empower a team and a culture. And then you get to decide. You get to decide how much you want to be involved in the doing of the thing, the service, the product. Whatever you decide is your right. But when you get to decide and not feel compelled, I have to be there 5 days a week or 80 hours a week, whatever. Now you're creating an asset, because when a business is not dependent upon that sole person, that owner, that CEO, well, the value rises. The value is always going to rise. If I'm looking at your business, Jim, and I realize that you've created what you've created and you've got a certain run rate and profit margin and cash flow, but it takes X percentage of your time, then that's what I'm looking at. Because if it takes 100% of your time, I'm going, well, I don't know, Jim. I wasn't really looking for another job. But if I see, maybe it takes 50% of your time and the rest is set up based on systems and protocols and the culture, now I might have an interest. Now you've got an asset. And then, so when you do decide to sell, then you've got an asset that's got a higher valuation. So yeah, there's a process along the way that business can become an asset, not just when you decide to sell it.
Right. I learned a lot of this several years, almost 20 years ago, more when I was in franchising, but I've also interviewed a number of people on my podcast about selling a business. And my somewhat simplified explanation is, if someone's going to buy your business for top dollar, well, it's got to have a customerless cash flow, but it also is, if you settle and, sign all the papers on Friday, when they show up Monday morning without you, the business has to keep running. So if everything has to come through you, if you're the bottleneck, first of all, that inhibits growth. That also makes it a lot less of an asset. Speaking of the business, right?
Absolutely, yes.
So I want to circle back to coaching. I think when you and I first got together, I think you came to one of my Dream Business Academy events, even though we were friends and through social media and seeing each other at conferences and stuff. But I think when you joined Dream Business Mastermind, that was right around the time you were launching Freedom Founders. Is that about 2015 or something like that, David?
Well, I think I was a part of your mastermind, your virtual mastermind, maybe a little before 2015. I know I came to Dream Business as already a mastermind member, so I didn't join there. I was actually already a member, and probably for at least the year or year and a half, something like that before. So I'm thinking more like maybe 2013, 14. But Freedom Founders had launched, but it had a long ways to go. And you were very instrumental. That's why I love masterminds with a great facilitator. You were very instrumental, as a number of people were, in helping me get that clarity. Because we just have so many blind spots. We have these great ideas, but you need someone on the outside that can look in over your shoulders and go, let's take these pieces and move them around a little bit. What if we adjusted this and this, and like, bingo, amazing. Again, it's an inflection point.
Yeah. When when we first started talking after you were launching it or getting ready to launch it, I think when I had my first Dream Business Academy, which was in Vegas, I don't think you came to that one, but I think
did.
I had
No.
you were
I
in
was
Vegas.
there. I was
Oh
there. Tony Rubleski and I still talk about that because we sat together. Adam Homey was there. Brad Zollis was there. I could almost go around the room right now, Jim, and tell you who was in that room.
That is, and truth be told, I was so freaking nervous to put on your first event. Like, who's going to come? And if they do come, what am I going to talk about? Right. But that was, I mean, talk about an inflection point for me. That was a huge one. I mean, I was actually killing a huge phobia, fear, whatever you want to call it. But, when you started, David, I think your first meeting was there or about the same. And you literally, I think your last event pre-COVID, didn't you have like 200 or 300 people at your Freedom Founders? Yeah, I mean, it was huge. I remember seeing a picture. It was huge.
Yeah, probably getting close to 200 people when we include, we've got a lot of people that we, partner with on real estate. We're really, really great people. They fit. So we've got, we grew that way. We've got members. We have a lot of auxiliary staff, more contractors that come in to help because those events, there's just a lot of stuff. So yeah, it gets, and then spouses come. A lot of our members bring their adult kids, which we love because we love to be removing the brainwashing they've had in the earlier years and like changing that out. So we encourage that. So yeah, our membership is not 200. Just to be clear, we're about 65. But yeah, the community itself is really.
I probably saw a picture with spouses, vendors, everybody, because I mean, it looked, that was a huge picture. So what would be the biggest aha moment, assuming we're going to get back to where we can have live events and have seminars and in-person masterminds and things like that. What's the biggest thing you've learned from when you started to where you are today, as far as getting people into a room and making it a great experience?
That's a loaded question.
How much time do we have, right?
It's like we both know, it's not one way. It's like how many different ways can you message? And there's just a whole host of things that, you've taught for years. And one of them is, some point, if you've got a strong enough message of conviction, you do a book, which is kind of what we're talking about today. I mean, that's one piece. You can't do anything solo, make it happen. You've got to create a mission, a message that resonates with people. You've got to figure out, who is your target audience, your best clientele that you can most help, and you got to get your message zeroed down to them. And then how do you get it to them? Well, that's a whole nother story, right? So it's a lot of things, as you know, Jim. It's not, and that's we talked about that, at the night when we were back, working together is just the experience that you have and that I was having, and what other things could we add to it? And when you're starting out, you can't do everything, so you have to focus on what are the fastest ways to move the needle to get you to the next. If you try to do it all, no way. You don't have the capacity, you don't have the capital. You've got to have, focus on how to do it. So yeah, today it's multiple, and we keep adding to it, right? Just adding to it as we go, as we learn.
So David, I'm curious about your vision. I don't want to pry too much here in the open audience here, but your vision from when you started Freedom Founders to where it is today, has it like completely shifted? What's your own life as an entrepreneur like? Are you working way more hours, even though you thought, no, I'm really looking to grow something to give me freedom, but darn it, I'm working really, really hard for all the people in my program. What's that look like? Because a lot of people end up doing that, grow. And next thing you know, you've got no life. I'm just curious what's going on for you.
Well, yeah, you have to watch that as an entrepreneur, and certainly you have to work hard and put in the time as you're building some momentum. But I think having clarity as to what are you building. My wife Candace says, "Be careful what you build." So again, there's a runway to get the thing going, and you may have to do more things initially, but you've got to have some milestones. Say at a certain point, then I'm going to pull back from here. Well, how am I going to do that? How am I going to pull back? But back to your main point is what's my vision? Yeah, has it changed? Yeah, it has. I love real estate. I love orchestrating deal flow. I love the capital investment. I love creating Plan B passive income. I've done that for 40 plus years. Love it. It's fun. But as I've gone down the road with Freedom Founders, I realized that my messaging to my members, even though we still do real estate at a very high level, it's broader. I mean, that's part of why I did this book. This book has some financial components in it, yes, but it's not a deep dive into real estate. There's pieces of it, but it's a bigger piece. It's really more of a message of impact. It's where my head's at today, because I see so much confusion with people of all levels, positions in life. Young people going to school, coming out of school with debt. People in early stages of career, business, and life. Mid-stage enders, and I see how much confusion and lack of clarity is to, well, what path are we on? What are we doing here? It's easy to get in that mode. I mean, I was there. So my where I am today is I've got a great team, great community. I don't have to do all the logistical pieces, and I don't have to teach all the nitty gritty about real estate. I can do it like in my sleep, but I'm kind of like, I'm not bored with it, but my message is just elevated to the book's point, to my next. And where I'll be in 5-10 years with that message, I don't know, but I do what I do because I love to do it today. And people might say I, quote, work hard. To me, it's like I have fun. Like doing this with you. I mean, this is fun. This is fun for me.
Yeah.
This is not work. This is not work. So if people want to call it work, call it work. But when you enjoy what you do, when I don't have to look at my calendar and say, when do I get a vacation? I mean, I can take this job, if you call it a job, I can take it anywhere, Jim. Just like you're the floater on the seas. I mean, same point. I mean, if you can take what you love and do it where you want to do it, when you want to do it, with whom you want to do it, how you want to do it. See, that to me is ultimate freedom.
It's the definition of success by your definition, not what other people or society says you should be doing. You know, what's interesting, David, is a couple hours ago, I was talking with another member of the Dream Business Mastermind, working with that person, growing their mastermind program. And they're actually kind of they're ready to do like a little launch. And I said, be careful how many of position Bs, which comes with private coaching, how many of those you open up, because next thing you know, you're not going to have the free time you want to have. Your income will keep going up, but you're saddling yourself. So you got to have a really clear vision of where you want your business to go. I'll say this also, and I don't know if you agree with this, but I shared this, I think, on our interview, is it's really hard. Well, it's hard for me, but I believe, I got typical entrepreneurial mindset, driven type A. It's really hard once you build what you thought you were dreaming of to just be happy with that. When I got to the point where, I structured so I can work 3 days a week because I love my lifestyle traveling. But then it's like, God, it's Monday. Everybody else is working but me. There's thoughts creep into your head, and it's weird sometimes. So that's why I think having a really good idea of where you want to go. And then when you get there, do you have the cojones to actually live the life that you've now built for yourself?
That is so true. There's so much peer pressure out there today about what we should be doing to be responsible. You should be doing this. You've got this education. You should be doing this. And I say, baloney to that. Take whatever you've done in your life in terms of self-investment and formal education and self-education. Take all that, but you know what? Design your own darn life.
Yeah. Doggone, I'm going to go another 5 to 10 minutes if you're okay. You don't have another appointment to go to in 2 minutes, do you? Okay, good. I'm going to go a little bit long because I am totally digging this conversation. I'm sure other people are. So I was, no secret, Dan Kennedy, my greatest business mentor, he's totally responsible for this lifestyle and what I've done. He has changed my mind, which was originally that of a small business owner, into an entrepreneur. And there's a lot of ways we can define that. So, man, I was tickled for you. So you got Dan to write the foreword, not even just a recommendation or testimony. You got the foreword. I'm going to read just a couple sentences from that. Dan wrote, if you're an entrepreneur in spirit who is frustrated by the traditional career path of work, sacrifice, and wealth building, and who craves an alternative path to work smarter and generate wealth and income that works for you, this book is for you. David will show you how to reinvent yourself and your means of making money and how your business and money can be structured to work for you. And I got to tell you, because every time I wrote a book, I would send a free copy to Dan, and he did write a 2 testimonials, the last one being for Decide, which it came way after I published it. So I actually published a version 2, which mostly just so I could include Dan's. Yeah. I mean, that's how much weight it has. And and I mean, that is high praise indeed. I mean, I'm sure you were thrilled with that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. To your point, Dan has been so influential. I mentioned in the book that I really consider myself to have 3 dads. My biological father, a real estate mentor who passed away about 12 years ago, and Dan. I mean, those 3 people, role models for me in different ways. and Dan's still with us. And yes, such a big influence. And so to have him weigh in on what I've come to realize in my own life and spending time with him and other people, wise people like you, it's just, that's a compilation. And it was a compliment that he would be willing to do that. Yes.
Yeah. So I want to circle back just maybe one or two more questions about what we both have in common, being a coach and masterminding. But I want to preface this with just staying on Dan for a second. I know, David, you really have ponied up a lot of money, because Dan is not inexpensive before he was ill. Did you ever, was that all, if I can get Dan's time, I'm going? Like, did you have a certain thing you wanted to get out of it? What, I mean, because I think you epitomize almost, I can't think of anybody who does it more, just invests in themselves constantly. You're always in different groups. You're always investing with people like Dan and others. And it's like you're a sponge. Do you ever, I don't even know what my question is. Let me stop there and see what you come out with for an answer.
Yeah, I know you're going somewhere with that, so let's see if I can pick it up and run with it. It's like baton transfer. All right, Jim, I got it. Let me take it. Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you say that. Being connected to Dan, but in a far distance, early back, 15 some years ago from books, and then going to some conferences. He probably doesn't even know me, but little by little, you have to work your way up. You have to, in anything you want to do, aspire to be. If you want to be inside a certain group or get to somebody, you don't just walk in the day and say, "Here I am." It doesn't work that way. You have to earn the right.
Right.
Part of it is just showing up and being committed. The other part is most of the time you have to pay to play something. You have to invest.
That's right.
To show you're committed. So those two have to come together. And I was at a conference where Dan was speaking. I'm guessing it was around the same time we were talking about 2013, 14. And I caught Dan in the hallway, at a conference where it's just in between time. And I said, "Hey, Dan, I was kind of, making the appeal to get in his titanium mastermind group, the top level group." And, and he was very nice. But he said, "Well, what are you doing now? And who are you working with?" And I mentioned, he goes, "I think you're good where you are right now." Not saying not to aspire, but he was very frank, and I think absolutely he's 100% right. I was trying to leapfrog, and there's nothing wrong with leapfrog, so I'm not telling people not to do that. Leapfrog when you can, but a good mentor, coach, mastermind facilitator will be the one, if they're really good, will tell you when the right time is. And so, I came back. It was several years later when I had done the work, and then when I made the application. Okay, I think you're ready, David. And so I do that, Jim, because I want to see how other people think. People like Dan, I certainly want his expertise on what I'm doing. That's part of it, his advice. But I love to see how he thinks, and the way I get to do that is I'm in a room with other people that are also aspiring to do well in life and with their business, and I get to hear how he thinks and does his magic or breaks down what they're doing well and where the inflection points are. And I'm just thinking and watching because I want that kind of a sharp mind. I want to get as close to that as I can. And so that's why I do it.
Yeah, it's interesting because what you just brought up with Dan, first telling you no, I mean, literally just a couple hours ago, and every once in a while, you've probably seen I'm posting these long Facebook articles, not these short little things. And it was about tough love and how my first experience at tough love, I mean, I turned 50 Shades of Red in front of a very important mentor in my life, but it was like a turning point for me. And Dan said, "No, David, you're not ready." And so it's interesting. I really appreciate. So that really speaks to investing in yourself. So my last question, I want to circle back to what we both do well and both love doing, compare notes as fellow coaches. I'm sure you have people that come to you and ask about Freedom Founders, et cetera. And, the question will always come back, I think, for some people they're questioning the time commitment and the financial commitment to be part of the group. Is that an automatic sign that they're not ready in your eyes, or how do you handle that? I'm just curious.
Yeah, we go through a process of some discovery call, and then I end up doing a call before someone's even invited to test the waters, and we test it both ways. And yeah, you find people that they're still, in my opinion, still way too tactical about life. Too tactical. I'm doing this, and yeah, if the financial and time commitment is not there, then I'm very nice, but I'm firm. It's like, well, then this is not the right time for you. And what I'm doing there is I'm kind of giving them back their no. In other words, they always
Right.
got a right to say no. And sometimes people come and they think they want something, but they really don't know the right questions to ask. And look, I was that way. I'm speaking exactly where I was in my life.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know the questions to ask. So when you come in a little bit early, premature, you're going to ask the wrong questions, and you might get back down like I was with Dan Kennedy. Don't take that as a negative on your aspirations. But you do need to do some more, I think, work on yourself and get with somebody or read the right things, get the right information. Start getting your head straight. You talk about, let's remove some of that head trash. Doesn't mean you're stupid. Doesn't mean you have an IQ. Doesn't mean you don't have a work ethic. It just means you've been working the wrong way. And we've all done that. So
Right.
You need to just change that. And then once you do that, the light switch will flip and you'll go, oh my gosh, why wasn't I doing this earlier? Well, that's just life, folks. You just when the student's ready, the teacher, the opportunity appears. When you're not ready, it's not going to be there. You won't get it, and you won't take advantage of it. You can't change people in that regard. They have to be ready. They have to want not just change, Jim. They have to be ready for real transformation.
Right. So I'm pretty much the same way, but I've also learned, because I started coaching in 2009. I never went to coaching school. I had no idea I was going to be a coach. But anyway, I started coaching in 2009. What I've learned over the years is that people will often walk up to the cliff, so to speak, or the precipice, and sometimes they need to be pushed.
Yeah.
Most people, if you think they've got a good shot, a good idea, a good brand, or something they can work with, they usually appreciate the push. I needed a push. Like you said, that's where I was, man. I was at that point because, back when I started, I was already in debt from being unemployed and cancer. And then my first full 12 months in business was revenue free. So, I was not in a big place where money was prevalent. And thankfully, some mentors just pushed me to just stop looking at money as a measure of your success. It's a tool. It's how we measure. It's a tool to help you succeed. But I think the point for me, David, was when I really got focused on the fact that I knew in my heart, mind, and soul that I was going to be successful. And if I partner with this person or work with this group, that would help me get there faster. To me, the connection point was when I said, if I get there faster, then I will be able to pay down my debt. It was never when I get out of debt, I'll do this. You know what I mean? Right. That was the turning point for me. And to the degree that I believe that, and I do, I'm okay pushing somebody, but if they push back and say, no, then I say, okay, this isn't going to work, and I'll back off. So I'm okay being a little pushy just to help them get to where they want to go. But in the end, you're not going to convince somebody. One of the quotes that I put up sometimes is, to the degree that you're willing to invest in yourself is a direct reflection of your core belief that you're going to be successful. Because if you think, no, there's a good chance I won't, you're never going to make that investment. Would you agree?
Totally, 100%.
That's awesome. So any final words, and we'll wrap up here. I've kept you long. Any final words about masterminding, about your Freedom Founders group, about working with a coach, et cetera? Because it's one of the reasons I do these. I hope it maybe this speaks to your final asset, the legacy. I'm at a point now in my age where I'm thinking, besides groaning when I climb in the engine room, I'm at a point where I'm thinking about, my what's next and what am I leaving behind and things like that. So any final words about masterminding, coaching, etc.?
Yeah, I'll use the words from the great late Jim Rohn. You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Yes.
So I truly believe, as successful as someone might be that's listening right now, you got a good business, you're running, but most of the time it's still at night. You're thinking, I'm treading water. I don't really see the exit. I don't see the next. I don't like this word retirement, whether that's in 5 years, 10 or 15 years. There's got to be something more. And I'm telling folks there is. But you've got to be willing to change your environment, which means what you take in, what you read, see, listen to, okay? The people that you surround yourself with, and that doesn't mean the people that are your friends or in Rotary or at church, doesn't mean that they're bad people. Not at all. I'm just saying, if you want to climb that ladder and make that transformation in your life, so you have a next, you have a legacy, you have more meaning and purpose in your life, that's what gets me up every day and makes me hit the ground running and having fun, you're going to have to change your environment. So whatever it takes you to do that, start with where you are, but work to get yourself in a group or a space where there's people that are going down that path, and do what you have to do to get to that place. And then maybe the next one, you'll start getting in a place where the people you're with will start helping lead you to your next, because like you said, I'm a part of different groups. So I didn't just join all the groups at one time. No, I don't work that way. It's like get in the right group, find the right people like Jim Palmer, and then he's going to lead me through his association, his experience to other people. And I've done that my whole life since you've known me. I ping, but I don't ever lose the benefit in the relationship, just like we're having right here today. It's just like, it's always there. You can't take that away from me. Can't take that.
Yep. So if a dentist or a service professional or some other doctor is interested in Freedom Founders, where can they go to get some information?
Best place is just the website, which is freedomfounders.com. And you can catch me on my regular weekly podcast, which is Dentist Freedom Blueprint Podcast. You don't have to be a dentist to jump on. I don't talk about clinical stuff. I'm way beyond that. So we have fun.
Dentist Freedom Blueprint Podcast.
That's it.
Man, I guess that URL was available because that's pretty darn long.
That's pretty tight, isn't it?
Nice and concise there, David.
Exactly.
I'm just kidding you. And the book, do they go to Freedom Founders? You want to go to Amazon? Where do you want them to get your book? What's next? What's your next?
Best place for the book? Yeah, it's go to, had to change the domain slightly. So it's findyournext.com. Findyournext.com. You'll have the link to Amazon right there, but there's some bonuses to go along with it. So if you go to findyournext.com, you'll get the book through Amazon, but also get some bonuses attached to it. So that's the easiest way.
Very good. Man, I have so much respect for you. I admire you, what you're doing. I think it's awesome. And you're helping a lot of people. So you're checking the box there for step number 6 on your legacy, David, and you and Candace. As I keep telling you, you're welcome to come out here to our floating home anywhere you can find us. But we got to be in 4 feet of water, so we're not coming to you. You got to come here somewhere in the East Coast. But thank you so much, David. I think this was a barn burner of an interview. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it, Jim. Thank you.
Hey, friends, that wraps up this very special interview with David Phelps, Dr. David Phelps to you, not David to me. He's David to everybody. I'm Captain Jim Palmer, the Dream Business Coach. You can connect with me at getjimpalmer.com. If you want to know more about my mastermind, the Dream Business Mastermind, that's Dream Biz Coaching, dreambizcoaching.com. But until this time next week, another fantastic interview. You take good care. Thanks. Thanks, David.
Thanks, Jim. If you enjoyed watching or learning from this video, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel for more content. If you have a question about any of my content or this specific video, just please leave a comment down below. And as always, stay focused on your freedom. I'll see you next time.